One of the things that I really dislike is when I see someone with an easy job complaining about how difficult it is and how society needs to change in order to appreciate him more. It's when you see someone that's a Facebook moderator who all they have to do is to sit in an office with air conditioning and browse through people's posts and they get paid for it. Like, what suffering do you want me to think that you're experiencing here? Like, we're not talking about the fact that the job is well paid or not, because I legitimately do not know how much they're making. They're probably making a lot more than people in my country are making. Um, I'm not saying that the job isn't boring. Many jobs are, but what I'm saying is that you're not doing back-breaking labor, are you? You're not a guy working in construction out there in the cold. You're not a person that's going to risk having a heart attack because you're building a football stadium in Qatar. The idea that these people are having a plight and they want my empathy and compassion for what they are doing is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I could even argue that what they are doing is absolutely useless. I did not ask for this type of service. I do not want people to censor the stuff I see on the internet. I'm perfectly capable of censoring it myself. If I see someone saying something that I find disgusting or I disagree with, there is a block button. But no, luckily for me, Facebook has decided to hire these people who are now suing Facebook. And not only that, they're whining and complaining because it's like, as a Facebook moderator, I saw the worst of humanity. Shut the fuck up. You did not see the worst in humanity. You did not go to Iraq. You did not go into a war zone. What the fuck are you talking about? The worst in humanity. What? You see some posts, some lines of text on Facebook, and that's the worth of humanity. Fuck off. You know what really annoys me about this? It's like, when I was a kid and I didn't have internet, I would go out in order to play soccer. It's what most kids did, right? If you had a Facebook moderator from California supervising the people playing soccer, they would be abhorred about the hate speech that was coming. Like 90% of the things that we were saying while playing soccer would probably be construed as hate speech today. And these kids didn't grow up to start the new Reich in Romania, right? Like, nothing happened because they were saying misogynistic stuff about each other's mother and disparaging things about gypsies and whatever else came at the football stadium while kids were playing. The word retard was thrown quite a lot, by the way. Misgendering, oh, that happened as well. But it's like nowadays, if you have a corporation that owns the football stadium, better put the money there to make sure that none of the kids have any banter. They don't have anything disparaging to say at each other. Oh my. So like, this is why I genuinely do not care when they say, oh, we need to be valued. Don't get me wrong, I don't need their service, number one. Number two, I get it, maybe it's a boring job. Maybe it's unpaid. I get that as well. Many jobs are, as I mentioned. Do you know how it is to be a medical resident in my country to get below? I think now it might be under $500. You might make $500 because the government decided to increase the wage. But to work like 32 hours a day, sometimes 2-3 times a week. I know it sounds ridiculous. Like, what do you mean 32 hours a day? There's not more than 24 hours per day, right? But no, we're talking about the work day, right? Like, you go to the hospital at 6 a.m. and you stay until the next day at 3 or 4 p.m., sometimes 5 p.m., even more. Because that's called being on watch, right? Like, being on watch, it's supposed to be from 6 a.m. till the next day at 6 a.m. That's 24 hours. But guess what? The next day, your normal shift starts. So you add 8 hours to that. That would be like a hard job, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know if it's as difficult as being a Facebook moderator. I don't know if saving lives is as difficult as reading the wars of humanity. But, like, when you put a post like this, the only person that can literally look at it and go like, oh my God, this is so horrible, is some other bourgeoisie twat that doesn't have a difficult job. Because if you give this post to the working lad and he reads it, he's going to be like, what are you complaining about? My job is twice as hard. But, this is The Guardian. Like, the readership of The Guardian is definitely not the working class. So, they're talking about how they're doing content moderation. And naked migrants are being tortured with molten metal in Libya. Okay, so he's talking about gore stuff. It's like, look, I can watch a video by myself. The moment I see there's gore, I don't watch it. You know, this is how the internet used to be. I know it's something that is mind-boggling for new people and young people who didn't live back in the day of Top Girl and other shocking things. But this is how the internet used to be. And you would see something like that, you stop the video. You stop it, you block the person who sent it. And you know what's interesting? Like, if you live in a community like IRC or other places that don't have moderation, if you're going to be an asshole and share these videos around, people will start blocking you. And you start to develop a reputation. And eventually, it's the community as a whole, like, it's not top down, it's bottom up, that decide to block you and mute you, and no one is going to talk to you. So you need to change and stop being such an edgy boy that's getting the children in order to have people just accept you into their clique. But no, now you need a moderator. That what would we do without him? Like, okay, fine. Facebook's quality assurance department is challenging. And by the way, like, if you're a moderator, and like another question, right? Like, if you're a moderator, why would you watch the whole video? Like, you kind of get the vibe of it. You kind of get the gist of it when you see the naked migrant and the molten metal appear. And by the way, like, what do you mean naked migrants are being tortured with molten metal in Libya? Like, are people migrating towards Libya? Or are you talking about the Libyan people being tortured? I didn't know that Libya is a center for migration nowadays. Might be wrong. Facebook's quality assurance department is challenging whether that baby in Myanmar is dead. Dave and Doreen are using its report function as a weapon again. All their tedious posts end up on the screen in front of us, punctuated by atrocities, porn, and distasteful jokes. Now, I kind of get the porn aspect because you don't want people to be at work. You know, like if I'm at the hospital and I'm browsing Facebook, I wouldn't want a titty to pop up. You know, a lot of doctors in my city, I don't know about other places, they do use Facebook to communicate with other doctors, to communicate with colleagues. Maybe things have changed, but when I was in med school, again, we used Facebook to have like this group and tell each other when an exam is coming up, or you know, some additional information that a teacher wants us to relay to the whole class. But I wouldn't, you know, want necessarily to be at school and browse for that, and all of a sudden, like, a titty pops out. I get it, you know, I get it. Like, okay, porn, fine. But what are you telling me? It's like, again, like, you want me to think that your job is so difficult. You're a moderator at Facebook, watching porn and distasteful jokes, and this is the worst of humanity. How conservative are you? You know? But what's interesting about this is that I kind of get, if you take a person from California now that's constantly surrounded by progressive people who bombard them with progressive talking points, and they train them to think that distasteful jokes lead to mass rape and mass murder and whatnot. Like, they actually have like this pyramid of nonsense where at the bottom you have distasteful jokes, and this normalizes things that normalize things that systemically end up with committing atrocities and genocide and shit. It all starts from a distasteful joke. And if you think that, then when you see distasteful jokes, yeah, you're like, oh. So apparently he used to be one of tens of thousands of skilled analysts deciding whether your post is hateful, exposing something hateful, misinformed, innocent, satirical, sarcastic, or just stupid. With billions of people on Facebook, it only takes a tiny percentage to post inappropriate stuff, which often gets shared and reposted endlessly before you need an army of moderators. Listen, you moron, if no one would do this, if no one would post inappropriate stuff, do you know what would happen? You would be out of a job. There is a business now where you get money because people post inappropriate stuff. This is the most ridiculous thing that I have read. If you don't like your job, quit. No one is forcing you to do it. But guess what? Since you're doing it, there's two choices. One, you like it, you sick fuck. And two, there's no other job available for you. And guess what? If this wasn't available, you'd be unemployed. My God, these people. Holy shit, this mentality. It's probably funny because like there's going to be a YouTube moderator probably watching this video, and I'm like taking a piss on his job. I'm not taking a piss on your job, but what I'm saying is that you shouldn't complain. You're making money out of it because there are people who post inappropriate stuff. And if you think your job is hard, come to my hospital for a week and then we can switch. Jesus. Not to mention, like, the construction industry is always hiring. So if you're at an office with air conditioning and you're not doing construction, kind of makes me think you wouldn't want to do that. So again, there are worse jobs than what you're doing. We respond if some maniac live streams their killing rampage. Your ex subjects to your ice bucket challenge because they can see your nipples. Depressed teenager asking friends whether she should live or die. Again, I don't think that this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation's responsibility in order to monitor these things. This should be the cops. Personally, I don't see the issue with reality being shown to people. Because when 9/11 happened, CNN and all of the mainstream news network shared it on their channels. Where was the outrage because CNN is showing extremist content with planes going into buildings? And when you see a killing rampage that happened, that can make you empathize with the victims. That can make you go like, oh my God, this is so horrible. Imagine if I was there. Well, what a piece of shit. Like, oh, like we as a society need to fix it. The way they think is that if you see a mass killing, people empathize with the shooter. And I'm not saying there might not be a couple of people that do that, but I would like to think that they're in the absolute minority. Most people, when they see an attack and they're like, oh my God, imagine if I was there with my mom or something like that. It fucks you up. And again, you don't have to watch it. You kind of get the gist of the video from the first 10 seconds. Just mute it. Like, how did the internet exist for years and years before moderation? Like, moderation is such a new thing. 4 years ago, you probably didn't even have it. I mean, you had it every now and then, but it was like very tame. Like most of the moderation that used to be on the internet 6 or 7 years ago was like, do not impersonate people, do not post pornography, do not post, I don't even know if they went for threats. Like that was something you could. It was like mostly keep it civil, I guess. And you had like 1 or 2 moderators that worked for the community, and they decided, if something was too far, they would intervene, but that would happen very rarely. So anyway, moderators makes hundreds of decisions about these things every day. It's skilled, measured work. It needs to be done smart. Well-adjusted people with a strong moral compass who can balance the freedoms of the individuals against the rights of society. Oh, fuck off. Every work needs to be done smart. Every work needs to have well-adjusted people. Every single job out there, you're getting money for this. But don't tell me like you need to go and study at the university in order to be able to do it. We're poorly paid and under constant pressure. Well, welcome to the corporate woke world. This is what woke corporations do, right? It's so that the left doesn't talk against big businesses anymore. When is the last time you've seen the left talk against social media? I think Elizabeth Warren is the only one. But overwhelmingly, like, no, most leftists, they don't consider big business. I mean, they will talk every now and then and be like, Jeff Bezos. But very little time do they spend to actually criticize the poor working conditions. Like, how often did you hear this on television? Right? I had an ex which was working for one of these IT companies. And big business, very similar to what this guy is describing, low paid, overworked. And in my country, there's a lot of laws. Like leftist government have made many, many laws in order to make sure that the worker is protected. Like you got the minimum wage, you got 8 hours per workday. If you spend more than that, you need to get paid extra. You're not able to fire people whenever you want. Like a lot of laws that are there to protect the little guy. And what do big businesses do? Well, they don't hire people anymore. They make you become self-employed, and then you become a contractor for them. So basically, they're not paying you healthcare. They're not paying you any sort of medical. They're not paying you any sort of pension. They're not going to give you any sort of money if you get fired, right? Because technically, you're a contractor. You're not an employee. but they treat you like an employee. Like you have to go there every single morning at 8 a.m. They make you work sometimes 10, 12 hours. They don't pay you extra. So they found this loophole. How many times do you see this being talked on television? How many times do you see a leftist politician come up and say, you know what, like, this loophole needs to be clogged. Like, that we need to do something. I don't know what. We need to get a team of experts, some lawmakers, some lawyers, some economists to figure out a way in order to prevent this from being abused. You're not going to see it, right? Because the left doesn't care, because most companies nowadays are woke and they pay lip service to the left. And it's like, all right, here's a transgender bathroom. Now shut the fuck up. You know, stop picking on us. And they get to do all of the things that they want to do without getting criticism. So he talks about that it's not just gore and suffering, it's the insidious drip, drip, drip of half-truths and emotional arguments that make extremists start to make sense, and those racist memes look really funny. So we have an actual Facebook moderator saying that he's getting red-pilled because of the memes. Unfucking believable. We don't sleep much, we're irritable, can't focus, have problems in our marriages, not that we can talk about it. We sign a non-disclosure agreement on the Facebook Omerta, so the people close to us have no idea we may have witnessed a murder tonight 4 times. Yeah, but imagine actually being a doctor on an ambulance, and you're not seeing the murder from a computer screen, you're actually seeing it in real life. Or my favorite is when there's a car crash on the highway, and the guy is paced, and you have to pick everything up, and you have to count. It's like, all right, does he have 2 hands? Yes. Does he have 2 eyes? No. Like, where's the eyeball? And you start searching it around to find the eyeball, because you can't just leave it on the highway. So there's that. We may have had to watch it over and over under the benevolent gaze of the huge smiley face emojis that covered the walls, because it was a complicated case of Q&A were watching us too. We wake up at night after night replaying it in our dreams, worried about the mistakes we might have made. Yeah, but lawyers face the exact same problem. A lawyer wakes up during the night thinking, what if I didn't defend my client properly? You know, like he got 10 years. You know, I know he committed a crime, but he should have gotten 5. Why are they talking about this? Is it good to have emotionally disturbed policing the internet? Maybe one day AI will be able to spot the nuance. Motherfucker, maybe one day you will be out of a job. I mean, I have never seen people that are like that. It's like, okay, I'm doing this job and I don't like it, and maybe one day AI will replace me. It's like, then just quit. Just quit. Until then, you're relying on a secret army in the shadows to protect your kids from perverts and extreme content. Whatever happened with parenting? Is parenting outdated? Do you know how easy it is to parent when you grew up with the internet? Like, check your kids' browsing history, for fuck's sakes. You know, like, just don't allow them on certain sites. You can block your computer from accessing certain sites. The idea that you need a multi-billion-dollar corporation to parent your kid is the most off-putting stuff that I have ever seen. And this idea is being cemented both by politicians and by the multi-billion-dollar corporations. They're not allowed to talk about their conditions or even identify themselves. Facebook says it provides wellness, which meant invitation to finger painting and yoga, but try taking the time off to take care of it. You know what? Maybe Facebook should hire far-right extremists at this point, because they don't seem to have a problem with any of this shit. They would gladly do it and get paid for it. My God, I would like to work at Facebook. No, seriously, like, just put me to moderate. I'll moderate whatever they want me to moderate. I'm not going to be biased. Just give me a list. Give me a list and I'll moderate. And you won't see me whine about it. Yeah, I saw a murder 4 or 5 times today. I've been in the medical school. I have seen dead people. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I can detach myself. You know, it's like, I go to work, switch it off, and then I do my job. And I get paid. Someone at Facebook, no, seriously, contact me. I'll do the job. I will do it. And you get to watch porn. You know, it's probably the only workplace where you can get to watch porn. No, the cops. The cops probably get to watch kiddie porn on their computer. The FBI, right? They probably get to watch that as well. And it's like, oh, it's it's job related. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.